So next on our chart is another range-based, and that is keywords. So keywords, look at the word here, overlapping ranges on a clip. You can already see there's some other benefits about using keywords. So some possible uses: B-roll identification, star ratings, locations, interview logging. Let me show you how that works. So let's go into keywords. I'm actually going to select all these and unfavorite those. And you can see here by our filter pop-up, we've lost. Looks like we've lost our clips, but no, in fact, they're all there. So I'm going to select all these, Option X to remove those. So now in this case, I have a little bit more time, and I want to be specific about what I'm keywording. So I'm going to put this again in just kind of a longer film strip. I like that 2 seconds. That worked pretty well for this project. And I've got a couple of keywords defined over here, and I'm just going to start going for this. And again, not the whole clip, sunset. I just want the best little elements of it. So, I kind of like that little lens flare. That's right there. So I'm going to drag that over to sunset. And here's my balloonia and balloons. So you understand how this works. Now, one thing you might happen is okay, here's our birds, which is nice. But over here, we've got, I think, let's see, where's the shot of birds and the moon? Oh, I didn't see that. I thought there was a shot of birds and the moon. And then you can say moon. And then obviously, you can look at this and say, hey, I just want my balloon shot, I just want my bird shot, I just want my river shot, etc. But look at this. This is really cool. Once you start editing inside something, in the timeline rather, you retain that. So let's kill all this. And now we're going to pop balloons down there. And we're going to pop birds. And then our sunset shot. Okay. Now in the timeline, as far as the names here, it still has these kind of obscure names. But if you go to tags, look what we've got. Balloons, birds, and sunset. Cool. So as we continue to mark things and say, okay, here's another bird shot. Oh, there's the moon, that little blurb, that little movie thing right there is the moon. Okay, so I'm going to select this. Wow, that bird's going. That's awesome. That's really what I shot, by the way. That's really how it looked like. That's just, that's New Mexico for you. Okay, so this is birds. And then I'm going to Option X. And look, here's the moon that comes in. That's cool. Oops. All the way to that moon is out. Okay, and then the moon's out of there. So as we add this moon shot here and this other bird shot, oops, yeah, sorry, this is the bird shot. One thing here, again, I need to clear that selection to get that entire bird shot down there. And look, I've got my keyword collections here. I can search for this and say, hey, show me that moon again, and I can go right to it, and it's arranged within the clip on the timeline, which is very cool to use. So if you plan things right for B-roll, this is an excellent tool, awesome tool. And this gave a hint of what you can do with keywords with doing like an interview. So let's look at this interview. I've got a smart collection here for master interview because this is actually a, let me just show you what it is. We have the green here is a English translation that's done, and then here are the 3 elements that were brought together. This is like a pseudo sync here with this compound clip. So let's go back and look at here. Let's erase this stuff real quick down here. Oops. Okay, so here's his interview again, but let's look at this in a different way. Instead of just applying favorites, what could we do? Well, lots of times in interviews we're looking at something and saying, well, what's really good? What is, just kind of mediocre? So we make a star rating system. So I'm going to Command K to bring up the HUD, and this is our star rating system. It's really simple: 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 stars, 5 stars. We typically only do well, 5 stars is like awesome. But they correspond to the keyboard shortcuts of Control 1, Control 2, Control 3, Control 4, hence the number of stars. So boom, you have a star rating system, which is pretty fantastic. So now, if I go as I go through my interview, let's think about how we're going to approach this now. So here, okay, here he's sitting down, and here is the first portion of him, and we're going to hit I and O. And again, this is Spanish, so I'm just kind of making this up. So this is where he introduces himself. And he did a spectacular job introducing himself. So I'm going to hit Control 3. And now I've got a 3-star element that is there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a note. So I'm going to hit Tab a couple times. And for the notes here, I'm going to say introduces himself. Or I'm just going to say name with name. Okay? And then as he progresses, I think it's about right here, he introduces his family. Let's see, he's pointing to his family. Okay, that's right. It's about right there. So here, he introduces his family. Is this that needed? I don't really know. But I'm going to give it 2 stars. And I'm going to say intro family. While I'm here, I'm going to get rid of this scene thing because I don't need that. I'll maybe make something bigger like this. So I would progress through this interview and get as detailed as I want. And I might, and right here, he might talk about his background a little bit. I'm going to give it 2 stars. Okay. And then here, he might talk about something really spectacular. So I'm going to give it 4 stars. And let's see, talk about being needy, for example. So watch this. When I go about to build my interview, I can do a couple things. One, I can isolate just the items that have the good star rating. If I look at it in list view, I select both of these, I hit the right arrow, I can twirl them down, and I can see, oh look, here he's talking about introing family, background to his church. You can just isolate those things. You know, what kind of 3-star stuff do I have? And you can start crafting your story in that way. If I go back to this view, Option X out of there, I can start assembling this. So let's say I'm going to do an assembly. I'm just going to throw down introduce himself and then being needy. And then look at this. Inside tags, I have my star rating and I have my notes that have come down. So fantastic for interviews. So we do lots of interviews. A lot of times, boy, that might be an hour long interview. We have lots of things to note, and we will note them in this way. And then once we get down in the timeline, we can actually see what we're doing. And if we have to start chopping things down, we can look at our 2-star and our 1-star stuff and just kill it. And it works really well. Couple gotchas here. That is if you want to change something. So let's say you go back here to intro family and realize, oh, you know what? That really wasn't 2 stars. That was more like 4 stars. So I want to just change that. So I've selected this, and I'm going to Control 4. What happened to my notes? It's gone. Ooh. So what you need to do, because of that, it's really a new keyword since we've added 2 keywords to that. So there's a new note needed for that. So if that's the case, go ahead and select this, copy, and then if you need to change this to 3, it's kind of a 2-step process. So I'm going to Option X to kill all that. Look at this 2-star thing. Okay, so here's my little section. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control 0 to kill the keyframe. I mean, it's keyword rather. And then I'm going to go back and say, okay, that's Control 4, and then I'm going to tab over and paste that in there. Little bit of a pain, but you're kind of making your own rating system. A lot of times what we do is we'll just kind of leave it and make a note inside the notes that we're doing that thing. One thing to note about this too, another note, is this is not, well, let me show you this. Okay. Once something's down in here, if I were to edit this, put a 2 up there, it doesn't get reflected up there. And you might think it would because it's a compound clip, which is actually a reference clip. Or if I do the same thing here, too, you can see it isn't automatically reflected. Metadata is actually brought down to the timeline. So just be aware of that. And that is keywording with some special little tips about interviewing. Oh, let me show you one other thing about interviewing. Let's kill this right now. In 10.1, Final Cut folks gave us a great treat, and that is being able to do all this stuff on the fly with a keyboard without needing to mouse. So watch this. I'm going to start here with an in point, and I'm going to start playing back. I have a phone call. It's just like at my office. Hang on a sec. Okay, that was my wife. Again, it's just like you're in my office. Okay, back to where we were. We play back here. A lot of times in interviews I play back at double speed because you can still understand it. Okay, so I'm going to hit O to select to end that range. And I'm going to say, oh, that was fantastic. So Control 4, Tab, and I'm going to just say that was fantastic. Talking about church. Okay. So now I'm going to hit return again, and now spacebar, and playback begins. Can you see? If you look there, you can see the little play, the skimmer playhead right there, and I can move on. So I can set my next one, and then I can hit here Control 3, Tab, notes go here, return, spacebar, and you can just move on, and you can fly through an edit. I mean, you can fly through an interview. Here like this, Tab. Now, one thing to note about this, if your focus gets off, it's not going to work. So you might need to flip back and forth between that. Because sometimes when you hit playback, it's just going to play within the range that was there, and it's not going to play beyond it. So just be aware of that. But anyway, great little tool that was given to us in 10.1 to be able to do star ratings like this and add notes really quickly. So let's move on to our next look at subclipping, and that's going to be compound clips.